Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 4, written by Scott Lobdell, art by Kenneth Rocafort. Left off last issue with a bunch of flashback stuff, but they got a hint that the place where they're going is Colorado. So we pick up in Colorado, specifically a place called Middleton. We're in a bar, and Roy is narrating about how he's sober, and his sponsor, Waylon Jones, a.k.a. Killer Croc, would be so disappointed in him. Meanwhile, we see that the seats that Jason and Roy are sitting in at this bar are claimed by these big, tough, biker-looking guys who are like, "Hey, get out of my seat, son." And, of course, Jason just turns around, kicks all their asses, and then says, like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do you still want your seat?" Because he has to be just oh so badass. Meanwhile, apparently this whole thing was them trying to cause a scene, like they wanted to be seen causing issues. A police officer steps up and was like, "Hey, so you two, you need to come with me down to the station about that whole thing. That was kind of not all right." And she's like, "Oh, of course, officer. We'll gladly join you." So Jason and Roy follow the police officer, and Starfire starts narrating. She's flying over top of the city, keeping an eye on them, explaining how this was all a ruse, and she doesn't quite understand ruses because in their culture they just kind of take whatever they want. But, she knows she has to keep her distance because she looks so different. And she's more than okay with believing that they can take care of this themselves because they're spunky or whatever. And then she just gets slashed and choked and thrown down into the snow and ice. Because, yeah, that happens. And she literally, there's just 2 speech bubbles of her just cursing an alien. And then we get I want to say speech bubbles, but they're not. We're literally getting the narration boxes of the dude who slashed her. His name is Crux, as he reveals later. But basically, that dude from, issue 2 that, saw how Corey was on Earth because of the internet thing. Yeah, you remember that? So, I think it might have even been issue 1. No, it was 2. So, he's a giant alien monster beast with wings and scales and fangs, and his name is Crux now. And they start fighting once he says, "Oh, I am here to stop the invading alien hordes," and Starfire's like, "Oh, you're a xenophobe. Cool, I don't feel bad now." And she punches him in the face. Cut back over to Jason and Roy's thing. Roy is standing outside the police station while Jason is getting some information from the cop, which is holding her at gunpoint, putting cuffs on her, and just being like, "Look, I'm just looking for some files on this thing known as the Untitled. They're an ancient cult and blah, blah, blah. And they live amongst the humans." This is the most explanation we've gotten on the Untitled. They live amongst the humans. They're an evil mystical race, and they like to hide themselves in positions of authority so they can cover up their tracks easier. Like a mayor, or a local doctor, or a cop. And so the cop gets up and immediately, magically shoves her hand into Jason's back and just demobilizes him for a second. And she's just like, "Why? I mean, I'm surprised I didn't recognize you were one of the Allcast, but why'd you break our truce, dude? We were totally cool with just chilling. Why did the Allcast break the truce?" And he's like, we didn't. You guys broke the truce. Don't try to trick me on that." And then, of course, Roy comes in. He fires off a bunch of arrows into the thing's head, and cop just turns around. It's like, "You idiot! Steel tip's not going to do anything. Only copper works on me." He's like, "Yeah, I know. Jason told me." And then he fires off a copper tip arrow that just splices her in half. Cut back over to Starfire, and we get Crux's backstory because he literally just says, he's drowning Starfire, and then says, "Before you die, I want you to know exactly why I'm doing this." He says those words, and we get the whole backstory that his parents were in a car accident that he was also in when an alien spacecraft crashed onto their car and killed them immediately. But apparently they were super well off and had some alien tech or something like that. So he just took it to the next level, and he tried to discover all this stuff, and he managed to track down that the ship that hit them was a Tamaranian war cruiser. So he's super pissed at Tamaran and all of Starfire's people. So when he saw her image online, He was like, yep, I'm going to go hunting today. And then he gets interrupted mid-monologue, but he's like, I don't remember asking you. And Starfire just throws him down into an icy lake. He starts swimming, and Starfire's like, are you serious right now? Are you trying to swim to get away? As she just flies over top of him. Cut back to Jason and Roy. She's healing up. The Untitled is healing up because, of course, it is. And as such, Roy's like, all right, so what do we do now? How do we beat him? And Jason's like, well, we don't. We run. And so Roy's giving him shit for, like, you were trained by Batman. The best you got is run. He's like, if you got a better plan, you can do it. I'm going to run. So they make their way outside. Meanwhile, Starfire, she's so intently looking down at where Crux is, she fails to notice this giant portal setup made out of, it's a Tamaranian transubstantiator. Straight out of Phineas and Ferb. And it does something to her. Apparently, according to Crux, like 2 pages later, it basically takes away her powers. She's all but human now. So then we cut back to Jason and Roy. They see when Starfire was losing her powers, she let off like a huge energy blast. And Roy's like, wait a minute, that's Starfire's energy. Is that the Untitled doing that? And Jason's like, probably not. They don't really know about her. And he's like, cool, I'm going to go check on her. Are you good? And Jason's like, oh, yeah, I'm good. So he's got his guns out. Crux is like, I'm ready to... He doesn't even kill her. He just wanted to take her powers away. Like, he kneels down next to Starfire, this giant beast, and just like, I made you human. Welcome to the human race. Bye. And then he just leaves. Starfire does manage to whisper out Richard. So a little hint of what she may or may not remember of things that may or may not have happened. And then we see Jason's like, I don't need these guns. I'm gonna fight the old-fashioned way that the All-Cast taught me. And he throws away his guns. He pulls out those knives that he's been using for a while now. And as he comes out from his cover, he sees the Untitled is this weird, smoky-looking, monster-looking thing, and still speaking English. And he's like, oh no, this is on you, because after I kill you, I'm gonna kill everyone you love, all because you wouldn't leave us alone. And he's like, this is on you guys. Sorry. And that's where the issue ends. Starfire's human, and apparently this is all Red Hood's fault. I don't know. I like the issue. It's a fine issue. There's nothing inherently wrong with the issue. My problems only come from the fact of, why are we introducing this Crux thing? Like, did we just get to issue 4 and realize, oh yeah, right, we don't really have a place for Starfire because she can literally just save their asses anytime, as shown in all of the other issues. It just feels like it was like, okay, we've got the team made. We're not going to worry about it being balanced. And then when issue 4 rolled around, they're like, maybe we should have worried about that balancing thing. And now they've just introduced this thing out of nowhere just to depower her. Which, it's not awful, I guess. It's just why are we doing that to begin with? So, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 6.5. I'm giving it a 6.5. A lot of that's down on the art because it's Kenneth Rocafort art. I mean, you can't fault it. It looks great throughout. Even someone as stupid as Crux is like, yeah, no, he looks great. So, 6.5 for Red Hood and the Outlaws #4.